Good morning, Alejandro. What you got?
I had actually submitted a question. It was more of what's your process with FSBOs?
Okay.
Because I know I had got on one of your coaching classes before, and you were talking about it, but I was having issues with my internet. So if you
Gotcha.
can kind of go over that again, I would love that.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So FSBOs. So let me tell you first what not to do or where people are going wrong with FSBOs. And this
Okay.
has to do with anyone. This has to do with when we are trying to approach, um, for sale by owners, when we're trying to approach expireds, when we're just trying to cold call, right? Whatever that looks like, where we're going wrong. So there's zero preparation involved. So the way that I approach a for sale by owner is by preparing. And the things that we have to prepare are a couple of things. We have to understand what they're offering, okay, as a for sale by owner, like what the price is and what it is that they're offering. So the first thing that I do is I go into the RPR app because it's easy and it's on my phone, and I'll just pull that basic data, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms. I glance at what they owe on it and then, or what they bought it for. And then I also will look at their land size. Okay. So, and then if there's any other specifics on there. So I just get that like great overview about the property. And then I find out what they're asking for it. Then I go to work and I pull comps really fast. Now, this does not have to be long form CMA. Okay. This is not like you're not going to take 25, 35 minutes to go do a CMA. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're going to just quickly pull some comps that are going to give you a great idea if they're high, if they're low. It's kind of like playing what is that? Oh my gosh, the high-low game that's on CBS. Bob Barker. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. So it's a little bit like that because we're just trying to get a general idea of where the price is falling. And are they high? Are they low? Oh, is this something I can help them with, work with? And then I'm going to take a look at how are they presenting the property? Do they have very good photos, very many photos? What does their description look like? So essentially, I'm not mean girl in high school that's going to sit there and pick apart what they've done and what they have. But then I'm going to be able to then look at it and analyze and say, how can I do this better? How can I do it better? Because if you can't do it better, what do you have to offer? Right? This goes for expireds too. Because if all you're offering is putting your sign in the ground, who everybody can do that. We got millions of us out there that can be able to just offer to put a sign in the ground. So that's how I prepare. And then I make a phone call on for sale by owner. Does that help you? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that does make sense. I happened to be showing a property yesterday, and I happened to pass by a property that all it has is that sign in front.
Yep.
And in that neighborhood, there's probably about another five houses that are listed with agents. So I'm like, he's not going to have the traction that he expects to have just based off that one sign in front. So that's why I wanted to get a little bit of an idea of how to uh, present it as well. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That's a great analyzation that you just gave to a great point, which is there's five other people that are competition, and he's not going to have the leg up against the
Mhm.
competition, right? So
Yes.
that is a problem of why he's not selling. The other thing I do when I approach a for sale by owner is I love to ask him what's been their experience so far. That opens up for conversation because we have to understand, well, I've listed with people, but it hasn't sold. Or I don't list with realtors because I hate them because I had this bad experience. Or I used to be a realtor in my past life, and so now I do it myself. Like, what is it that they've been doing? What's their experience been? Have they had very many phone calls? What's the traffic been like? The thing that agents worry about, and I get this comment a lot, is if I give them information, if I tell them what we need to do in order to sell the house or where it should
Mhm.
be priced or why it's not selling, they're afraid. The agent becomes fearful that if they give the information before they have a signed contract, that person will not use them. They're just going to take their information and use it themselves. True. We have a little bit of
Yeah,
fear.
that is very true.
Yeah. However, when we open ourselves up and we have a conversation and we start to create some relationship, that it's a trust building exercise with that client. And that client will literally appreciate so much, even if they're like, no, I really don't want to list with the realtor, but if I was going to, like, you would be my person. right? Then that again, like gives you a way to go follow back up with them and just see how things are going. Are they ready to throw in the towel? Are they ready to get some help? But you've built some trust and relationship because you're not showing up withholding information until they sign a contract.
Gotcha, understood.
Best way to confirm.
When you do call them, you introduce yourself as an agent, correct? I know
Oh,
sometimes people get very hesitant when as soon as you, especially FSBOs, like do you have a essentially a buyer for me is the the question I've heard once or
yeah.
twice.
Yeah, no. And then I just honestly, nope, I'm Lisa, I'm with Hunter of Homes, and I'm calling to see what it is that you have to sell. Like, what do you have to offer? I want to know, not because the first words, the scripts, I don't use scripts because we need common sense, people. We don't need scripts. But the script I hear is like, I'm so-and-so from whatever brokerage. And are you interested in listing your house? Like, okay, wait a minute. You just went straight to bed and you kind of forgot to date the client, right? Like we're missing the dating part. So let's have some relationship and let's ask some questions to get to know them. But yes, you don't want to start off that relationship by lying about who you are either. So I've not yet had the phone slam down on me. The one that you passed by, let me ask you a question. Did you look it up to see if it was listed online at all?
Yes, and it is not.
Yeah, that is the perfect property. That's the perfect property because they probably aren't receiving a bunch of phone calls from agents, because agents love to pay for lists. I love this, but we love to pay for lists when we can just go find them online by ourselves. But they'll pay for the for sale by owner list, right? And
Yeah.
like that's not going to be on the list. That's the best for sale by owner to contact because they also, not being online, are probably getting no traction. They're probably really frustrated and they could probably use some help. So whether you're getting a paycheck yet for that, you have something to offer them, which is amazing. Yeah. You're
Yes.
welcome. Yeah. We'd love to hear back. Tell us how that goes.
Yes, we'll do. We'll do.
Awesome. All right. Perfect. Good question today. All right. Who else wants to be coached today? What else do we got? You've got your, okay, Jill put in the, I got my SRES and I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach the niche. Senior, is that the senior one? What is the SRES?
Yes.
Okay. It's the
Yeah. Senior real estate.
Okay. Okay. So you got the senior real estate. How do we approach the niche of old people? I call them old people.
Yeah.
Okay. I know, sorry. I'll call myself an old person when I get there too, so it's okay. Okay, so how do you want to approach them? What's your demographic? Like, what's the balance of people that you have in your area?
So we're predominantly seniors, I would say. I mean, we have a lot of families and stuff here too, but it's a big retirement area. So as far as I don't know like where to I obviously don't want to just be going into, nursing facilities and be like, "Hey, can I sell your house?" I know you're going to end up here, so I
Right.
just I don't want to I don't want to
You're ready to
approach
kick
it.
the bucket? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I think a big portion of like the seniors is going to be like getting their kids on board as well, which I say kids and they're like my age. Because when you get your seniors designation, it's 50 plus, and I'll be 50 on Monday, and I don't think I'm a senior quite yet, but
Right. That's what I called old people. We're talking like 70s, 80s, 90s.
yes,
Yeah.
70, yeah, late 70s, 80s, 90s. But I think then you would, then they're probably getting to that age where they're either moving in with family or they're moving into, we have a lot of independent living facilities here.
Hmm?
So they go to independent living, then they can transition into more of a skilled nursing. They're kind of
Okay.
all in one type facilities here.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I mean, I'll just give you where I would go, just some ideas, but creating relationships with the people at the facilities so that
Okay.
they have a contact. So it's no different than going to create a relationship with a builder,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or if they have listings that maybe anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. We can have that in a second, how to approach that. But with the seniors, like, yeah, if they're going to the facilities, if this is where they may or may not end up, that is definitely a place that you could go create relationships, because when they're children come in and have those consultations, which we had to do that with my grandma. When they have those consultations, if they bring up the fact that they're concerned or they have to sell a property first to get the money or whatever that looks like, they will have you as a contact. So
Okay.
I would build relationships there. The second part is, even in building that relationship, you have to understand what your offer is. What is your offer? So yes, you have a designation. I got lots of people who have designations behind their names. What does that mean? Because to the public, SRES, even me as a realtor, I'm like, which one is that? They don't know what it is. So what
Yeah.
does that mean? What is your offer? And how does that make you different? And let me explain something about when we kind of pitch our offer, okay? And I am so guilty of this, not in real estate. My hair's going crazy today. Not in real estate, but in selling my academy. I am so good at telling you all the things that are included. So you're going to want to show up as an agent and be like, I've been an agent for this many years, and this is how many houses I sell, and these are my designations, and look at me, this is what I am. And you're going to describe yourself because you feel like you're selling yourself. Would that be true?
Yes.
Okay. So we think we're the product, right? And in part, we are the product. But when you're selling yourself, what you're actually selling to them is the destination of where they're going to be going and what that looks and feels like. So instead of selling them what the plane trip to Hawaii is going to look like, which is all your designations and all your history and all the things that you do for your clients, you want to sell them, what is it like in Hawaii? Tell me what it's like in Hawaii. So what would that mean to you? Like to your clients, if you were going to go in and say, when you work with me, right? Or this is what I can do to help you. I don't even say when you work with me. I just say, this is what I can do to help you. This is how I serve my clients. This is the experience that they have. This is what it looks like for them during transition time. Because their biggest concern is not how many designations you have. It is they are stressed out. They're in this big shift in their lives or coming up on it, or will be looking at it in the future. Either way, they're looking at a big shift and they want to feel comfortable and confident in the person that's helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is, you guys, comfortable and confident does not mean that you necessarily have more labels behind your name. It's a good thing to have. I'm not saying it's not, I'm not downplaying it. I'm just trying to help you understand that when you explain it to other people, you really just need to hit on what is it that they're going to experience and how are you best able to help them? Where are you the person that they should be hiring? That's it.
Okay.
Once you identify that, so that's your homework. Once you identify your offer and you can describe that, put that in a letter. And that letter can go if you're going to maybe market to a certain area. If you know there's a certain area that tends to downsize, market that way. Or that's going to go in a letter of engagement of information that you're going to take to the senior housing. Because they don't just want another realtor. There's plentiful realtors. They want someone who's going to take really great care of their seniors, who's going to make sure that somebody's not showing up, screwing them over, charging them extra, just taking a lowball offer because they want to get the job done. Like, we're protecting our seniors, right? And that's what your job is. That's what you're doing.
Yes.
So you need to be able to communicate that to the people. That's your pitch.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing to do with selling, right? We're not showing up like, I can sell your house faster. I've got better photographers, like all those kinds of things. Sure, you can put a bullet point list of the things that you do. But above all, how are we making them feel? What does that look like? Because this is a tough time for them to decide to make a transition. And they've probably been in their house for a long time. I mean, I could go on and on, but you understand the premise of it. Yeah, that's why I have higher conversion rates the most, because I play to the person. And I'm not playing. I'm literally have compassion for the person and the situation. And I'm very willing to ask the maybe awkward questions that aren't the professional usual questions that people ask, which is, what's going on with your life? Like, tell me what's going on with your life. What does this transition look like? When does it need to happen? things like that. That's how the approach would come out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations on going through getting your designation. It's awesome. All right. Who else wants to ask a coach a question?
How are you dealing with the commission?
How am I dealing with the commission? So I'll give you my professional opinion. There's no change quite yet. So there's a lot of, I mean, this is like, there's a lot going on, but they haven't yet set really the precedent of what may change. Here's what I do know. Here's what's really interesting. If you look back, at least at our documents in our state, so I'm in Idaho. So I tell my agents, we had a whole 1 hour training on this. And if I look back at my documents, mine are very specific to where the buyer's agent commission has always been very well explained, and it's an option. It's still a negotiation for our sellers. And from what I've read, totally don't sue me, but from what I've read, it seems like what the problem became is that people were told they didn't have an option, right? If you don't list your house for X amount of commission, you won't have buyer's agents come show your house. Because I just read another article this morning after the whole lawsuit just started. And of course, another article comes out, and it was well written, slightly skewed, but they literally had surveyed, I want to say like 245,000 properties or something. I mean, it was a high number of properties. And the conclusion that they came to was that agents steer clients to properties with higher buyer's commissions, which I don't know about you, but we knew that, because there's some agents that do that. Not all agents do that. So what I kind of feel like is, in my world, when I go to present myself for a listing appointment, I tell my seller, I'm going to charge you X amount, right? X percent or X flat fee or whatever I'm charging. I'm going to charge you this, and I am going to take this piece of that and offer it to a buyer's agent to come bring a buyer to buy your home. So it was always disclosed, I'm charging them the full percent. If I wanted to keep all of it, by golly, I'd keep all of it. But I'm offering this much to the buyer's agent. So when I read the scripts a couple years ago and the problems that they were having, it literally was, no, I'm charging you this percent. It's not negotiable. And you have to offer, right? As soon as you start saying someone has to do something, that's when we have a problem. So I don't know that it's really going to change the landscape all that much, because unless they tell us we're absolutely not able to offer any commissions, that will be interesting. Like it's not an option. But yet if I want to still go charge my client X percent, like I just don't know that that's going to flip to where you can never offer an agent money. I don't know. So, I mean, that's what we're waiting to see happen. Or are they just going to create rules around it so that you're still able to offer it, but the disclosure has to be better?
Gotcha.
And then it was interesting too. Did you see like NAR, the way that they kind of got in trouble, not in trouble, but was they always said, and I always remember this, you can't put a listing in the MLS unless you offer at least a penny, right? Like you have to have some sort of offer. Even if it's 1 cent, you have to have some sort of offer to a buyer's agent. So again, they were not giving you an option to list a property with no compensation. They were saying you had to. And then of course, they just quickly changed their rule last week that said it could be 0, which in theory is the same as 1 cent, but not really. I mean, there is definitely a line there. So it'll be interesting to watch it play out. I don't think we need to be fearful. That's the one thing I do know. There's a lot of panic going on. Like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get paid? Are we going to be able to represent buyers? And now, our buyers can't afford to pay us. And like this whole thing, right? They changed this in the Northwest. Was it, I think it was Seattle area, Washington. I swear it was Seattle. Portland. It was Portland. Anyway, and they had tried this 2 years ago where they said, you don't have to offer buyer's commission. So we were watching that play out a couple years ago, but people still offer it. Because what are you going to do if you have to sell a property and you want to sell it faster? You're going to bribe people to come like sell your house, right? So I
Yeah.
think it's just in the language of and how we're presenting it. And then I think a lot of the problem was the class action lawsuit that they have was that there were companies specifically scripting what they were saying and not giving the sellers options. So it was not honest. So yeah, honesty.
There's been misinformation on it. That's
Total
for sure.
misinformation. Yeah. Yeah. And I'd be pissed too if you lied to me and told me that this was not an option. It's an option. Yeah. What's
Yeah.
going to work better? What's not? Give them the data, let them make a choice. But, you know, we should be doing that anyway.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. What state are you in?
In Illinois.
Oh, nice. Okay. So
Yeah,
what's the
so
market like in your area right now?
right now, buyers are freaking out as far as the rate. Sellers are becoming a little bit more understanding of the market. That's what
Mhm.
I've seen. You know, you try to explain when you're going through the listing appointment a lot of things, and sometimes it doesn't come out to you're in the process, and they're like, I've been waiting, and this, yeah, like I said, that area where I went to show a property right now, which is very has a lot of properties for sale right now, and they're the majority of the properties are exactly the same. It's like it was a copies of the same
Yeah.
property. Now, some people have, you know, again, remodeled and done some work on it, but yeah, there's a lot of houses right now that essentially need work.
Yeah.
And they're not getting those offers that they were expecting, you know, and a lot of clients aren't understanding that we're in a different market than we were a year ago. Like, well, my
Yeah.
cousin sold last year or 2 years ago and got,
I know.
yeah, it's a
I
very
know.
different
You're
market
like,
right
wah, wah, wah. Tell me the story. We know. Just kidding. I'm
now.
so mean. I know. I'm dealing with the same thing. Yeah. Well, so as agents, when we find agents that are going to start to drop off and struggle a lot right now, where I hear a lot of the submissions I get for Ask a Coach, I can't find listings. I can't find listings. I can't find listings. Like, where do I find the listings? How do I get my listings to sell? This is the time when we're doubling down, really, and understanding our value and adding more value for our clients and getting more competitive. So, and I'm not
Exactly.
talking just competitive with each other, but competitive in the market. So if I have a listing and you've got 5 other houses, so let's just take that for sale by owner, for instance, right?
Mhm.
And you have 5 other houses in that same subdivision and they are cookie cutter. It's a cookie cutter subdivision. So they're all very similar. Nothing's going to stand out a lot. How do you stand out?
That one, essentially, I try to, you know, give them the education and let them see where they would like to essentially compete in the market. You know, I don't want to push them to
Mhm.
any sort of price, but I want to show them the information, what the comps are in the area, what is their competition, what has sold, just so they can then make an educated decision on what they would like to essentially price their property.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. So we have price. Okay. I'll make a quick list here, but we have price. So price is one way that we compete, but there's more ways to compete than price. So when you're going to go pitch yourself, and when I go pitch myself to anybody, there's a few different things that I can compete in. So the first thing is price. Sure. Like, where do we want to sit compared to the other properties to be able to be more competitive? What's their, and that of course is going to depend on their time frame a little bit too. Where do they want to land in the stack of houses? How fast do they want to sell? Because do they need to sell now? Do they need to get the max amount of money? Like, what's their situation? So then you know how to price it better, not just how do we sell it faster? Because maybe they're like, no, I can sell in 3 or 4 or 5 months, and that's fine. Well, if that's the case, we can price you a little bit higher, you know.
mhm.
So price is one thing, but we're gonna look also. So these are things that you're gonna want to know for all those houses that are going to be coming off the market where the agent didn't understand how to have a conversation with the client to explain to them what the market was doing, how long things were going to sit, and they couldn't, quote unquote, talk their client into a more realistic price, right? It has to
Okay.
do with their ability of like persuasion skills to be able to communicate the information and be able to help the client understand the why of why it's
Mm.
important. A lot of agents will show up. I literally lost a listing a couple weeks ago, and I show up, I give them all the information, did my walk through all this stuff. And one of the spouses ends up hiring a different agent because they told them $50,000 higher. And I was like, good luck, because I'm not going to fill you full of crap, right? Because it will do you no good. So if that's the direction you want to go, fine. I'm good at my job. If you want to hire me, I'm here for you. And I just let him roll, right? I'm not desperate for the business. So I'm like, take me or leave me, whatever you want. But there's differences in how people are listing properties. And this is where we need to skill up. If you ever go and you look and you see you got the property that's got, fuzzy photos and crap photos, or they're all in a jumbled order, maybe take them with their cell phone, maybe not. Maybe they just had a bad photographer, and then they've got 2 lines of description. You're going to have a hard time competing in a market right now with that. But people got very used to putting up a really bad presentation over 2020. They could put 1 line, sell a house in a day, so they didn't care, right? Put 1 front photo and they were done. So some people don't know how to level up or don't understand it's time to level up. So price is where we level up first, because you do have to really understand the market and what's going to make you competitive. Photos, description, I want to know the attributes. So what is going to make my house different than anybody else's? And this is so tough when you're in a cookie cutter subdivision. I just had an agent who called me this week, and she's one of my Academy members. And she's like, I don't know what to do with this house. It's not selling. I'm already priced below everybody else. So it's not a price problem. But then we had to go look what her photos look like. And I was like, this. And so we analyzed it. And the photos, I couldn't understand what the floor plan looked like with the photos. It was very disjointed. And so I couldn't tell what I was buying, right? Which doesn't draw as many people in. So there's a sequence to photos, which is funny. It took me about 4 years, and then I wrote a class. I have a class on photo sequence. Sounds interesting, right? But it's very true that if you can't put them in a order that makes sense to the brain for the people, you're going to draw less people in. It's just the way it is. So photos. So we shifted up some of her photos. Then when it came to her description, I couldn't envision what the house looked like. I couldn't then place myself in it. You want to read it like a book. And I'm telling you right now, ChatGPT is not going to make this for you. It may give you a base, right? But it's not going to give you exactly what the person's going to see and experience when they go into this house. So she had 1 line about the kitchen. And I'm like, great. We got granite countertops and we have some cabinets. You didn't mention what type of cabinets. Are they painted? Does it have a backsplash? How much counter space do we have? What kind of appliances do we have? What kind of flooring is it? Go into the detail so we can start to see ourselves in the house. Now, hers is really tough because she's got this property that number 1 is cookie cutter, and number 2 is backed up to a busy road, and it has a small yard. So she took 1 photo of the back patio and called it a day. And I was like, no, we want to see the yard. We want to see what we're buying. Because what happens is, if you don't see what you're buying, she's having all these showings. Nobody's buying. The yard's too small. Well, surprise, we didn't market how small the yard was. We want to draw on the people that want a small yard, right? So we want to niche down and find the people that are really interested. So some people shy away from it and they try to, it's like wearing black because you don't want people to know how much you weigh, right? So we're gonna hide all of it. It works really good, right? Okay, well, we don't want to do that with properties. They're going to live here. So what we want to do is, for her, we had to trade up describing the house better, understanding what the floor plan, does it have vaulted ceilings? Give me this visual of what I'm buying. And she's like, and they repainted it. I'm like, okay, wait, you're competing with new construction, man. You want to know, it's got all fresh new paint on the interior. Give me some good description about this. And then the backyard, low maintenance. It is a low maintenance yard. There are some senior citizens who don't want a big fat yard. They want something small. They don't care if they're backed up to a busy road because they want a $60,000 less price than new construction, and they want a small yard. That's what you're going to market now, right? That's what it's going to go on. So we want to go look at those things. So the cool thing is, once you start to get good at this, then when a property comes off the market and expires, which we're going to see so much more of coming up and already have, Now, when you make a phone call to that person, you have the criteria for what you're going to tell them you will do differently and why their property didn't sell. That's the difference maker. When I tell people, you want more listings, don't just mail to random people. Call the people that raised their hand and said, I want to sell my house. That's your for sale by owners. That's your expireds. Those are people that still need help, right? Their goal was to sell. So you come at them in a value offered way, having looked at all these things to say, here's why your house didn't sell. And I've had to take properties before and I've said, you listed too low. And they're like, we were on the market for 260 days. We couldn't sell. Why are you telling me my house was listed too low? And I'm like, because I could get another 18 grand out of this house. And they're like, but, and this is even before the market was crazy. This was 7-8 years ago. And they were like, no. And I was like, let me prove you wrong. Let me prove you wrong, because I know I can do that. And what was the problem? The price wasn't really the problem. I could get more money, but the photo sucked. The description was terrible. Oh, and answer your freaking phone. How many agents don't answer their phone? And I literally will tell our clients, I'm sorry. And I don't know, am I throwing people under the bus? Probably, but I am competitive. I'm like, you had an agent who doesn't answer their phone. So if you aren't getting showings, like, it's not because you don't have a good product or your product is not displayed correctly to the best of its ability, right? And your agent doesn't answer their phone. So how are we supposed to draw buyers in, number one? And number two, we can't even get them to the house because it's too hard to get a hold of them. So let me do it different for you and you'll have a different experience. Hawaii's different. I know I'm so terrible, but
that is very true. I actually just sold a house that still had the Century locks from the old agent. And I called that agent to let them know, and they still haven't answered back. So
yeah,
this goes to show.
It's honest. You know, the funny thing is, it's not hard to be better than the other person. It's not. I mean, it's a competitive. We're independent, contractors. We have to be competitive, but it's not really that hard because there's so many people doing such a crappy job. So, there's ways, but I have identified very specific ways similar to this, right? Where we know and learn how to step up our game. And then you take this and you combine it with building some relationship with the client. How much different of experience is that when you come with the client, understand first their situation, what their needs are, and then you can be able to give them the solution to the problem. Like, why wouldn't they hire you? Because every other agent's not going to come in doing that. They're not taught to do that. It's not
taught to leave a note or give them a call.
Let's mail something. Let's put another door knocker on. Let's do a pop by. Come on, have a freaking conversation with the person and provide some value. Like, cut to the chase. Yeah. I don't have time to waste. Let's get to the money faster.
Yeah.
We don't make $1 million sitting at home writing emails to people. We do it by talking to people. Good question. Good question. Okay, anybody else? Alejandro's like rolling on it today. Anybody else got anything before we go? We had some other people jump on. If you want to ask a coach a question, everything is free game. Did you argue with your spouse today? We can take care of that too. All the things. I had a coaching call yesterday and we got all done. I was like, how are you feeling? And she's like, so much better. And she's like, but I really didn't think talking about real estate was going to end up talking about my father. I was like, yeah, I know. But, sometimes our sales skills have nothing to do with our job and they have everything to do with what goes on in our life. So you just never know.
So I've got a little different situation. I've got a house listed and the owner is actually the developer.
Okay.
That believes he knows more than everybody else.
Yep.
Okay. Wants to use Zillow to do his listings and so forth or whatever else. I was able to get the listing. It is, my opinion, not grossly overpriced, but it's overpriced. And I cannot get him to understand. I've sent him comps. Part two to the scenario, though, is my husband is his builder. So I'm on a slippery slope by being,
Okay.
you know, in a little triangle.
Okay.
But I mean, even his comps, when he sends me comps, he sends me comps of new listings, like something will go on the hot sheet or on the new list immediately. And it's like,
Okay.
it does, that's not a comp.
Why is
We
that
have
not
to
a
sell
comp?
it. Well, I mean, it's a comp, but it's not what it's going to sell for. We need to know what, you know, what a house actually sells for. You know, I can list a house for, you know, $500,000 and it only be worth 150,000. It's not going to sell for 500,000.
Right. Okay. So you're just talking, he's not looking at sold or pending comps. He's looking at active.
Exactly. And new
Okay.
listings. I mean, like hot on list, just hours, and sending them to me saying, well, look, here's a new comp for you. It's like, well, no, that's not really until
Yeah.
it sells or until somebody makes an offer on it. It's a little different.
Okay.
And it's all new construction.
Okay. So it's still all new construction though. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So new construction behaves differently than existing homes. So that's one thing we do have to recognize. So I do work with developers and builders. So I understand the talk that you're talking about. And so what I do with my developers, they are going to have to make their own choices. They're a developer for a reason, right? They got to the position they're in for a reason. So they do know what they want. Okay. So that is a piece of it. We don't need to change them. Like we don't need to change their mind necessarily. You just need to provide the data. So here's how I provide data. And I would do this on a weekly basis for my developers.
Okay.
On a weekly basis. Okay. So I will pull not just the comps of everything, like all the new construction. I love to give them a broad view. So I will put it in, my gosh, what's the word? Freaking like, you know, list form. There's a certain, anyway, whatever. List form, people, list form. I haven't had breakfast.
Excel.
Well, yeah, like an Excel. Well, I just pull it in our MLS and I'll just print it
Right.
in a list form, not
In
like
one of the
each
reports.
individual page in a report. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's like a list of a report. Okay. So I will print it in there. So, but I will pull up above, below, like I'm going to give them a really broad view so they can see based on their square footage or just even based on their price, what the price looks like. So here's the thing. When you pull comps, you pull them 3 different ways. Okay. This is what I do. I will pull comps first based on criteria. So the criteria is your square footage, your bedrooms, your bathrooms, your land size, like that's your criteria. So that's the first way I pull comps. And you can come to a price very accurately. Of course, you're only looking at your pending and your sold at that point. And I will double check on the pendings. Sometimes if something looks very askew, or to find out, hey, if you took this pending, see if the agent will tell me what they've contracted at. Some of them will tell you, some of them will not. But it's good to know, like, what's the trend, right? Are people taking less for their properties right now? You need to be able to understand that. Not just what they're listed for, but what are we trending on? Now, I also right now would not go back more than 30 to 60 days. So I would usually pull a 90-day list for them, and then I would pull a 30-day list for them.
Okay. So
that they can see the difference between what the prices were doing and what the prices are doing right now. In case they're going down, are they trending down, trending up? What does it look like? Okay. So that's based on criteria. Then I'm going to go pull based on price. So I'm going to pull the entire new list. I'm going to take out the criteria and I'm going to be a shopper. And if I was a shopper, I'm going to pull sold and pending, not active yet, but just sold and pending based on price. So what's your list price on it?
$724.
Okay, so if you're at 724, I'm going to go 650 to 800. Okay, if it's completely overwhelming, you can like draw it down a little bit more. But I want a broad view that says what's for sale that's competitive to the price that we're at.
Price only. Okay.
Price only. I'm shopping. What's my biggest bang for my buck? What does everything else look like? That's what I want to know. How many square feet is the house?
2,000 heated, 4 under the roof. It's got like 5 balconies on it.
Are you in Florida?
Myrtle Beach.
Okay. Okay. That's like not, that's why I knew that, because we don't do that under the roof thing here in Idaho. So
Right.
the first time I heard that, I was helping somebody comp a property and I was like, under the roof, like it's a covered porch. It's just a covered porch. Anyway. Okay. Yeah. But you guys have like lots of patios. So I understand they adjust those differently. So, so yeah, so you want to be able to pull and see what your competition is. Okay. Then we're going to pull based on price and we're going to see that was the competition pending and sold. Now what's our active competition? Essentially, and this is the piece that nobody tends to look at, which is where am I at in the pack? If I have $725,000 and I'm going to go shopping, where do I fall in the pack? Are people going to come look at me, or am I? That's going to show you, are you grossly overpriced, or are you really in the game? And now you're just going to have to figure out, what do my photos look like? What is my description? How can I like make this the best, you know, it possibly can be? Is there anything I need to do or revamp? And then revamp, hold an open house, see if you're getting traction in. Because we don't just want to sit, like we are working our properties right now, you guys. So even if you were to do $1,000 price drop to like, if here's my trick. If I need to change something, I always change the photos first, or if I'm revamping it, if it's been on the market too long, change the front photo, put a different one on there so people don't know that they've looked at it before. Change up the description, just relook at it from a different set of eyes to see if there's something that you might need to do differently there. Then I'll schedule the open house. Then I'll do a price drop. There's an order of operations, because as soon as you do the price drop, then everyone who's subscribed to an email looking for properties is going to get notified of that property. And then they're going to be like, oh, I haven't seen this one before. This one looks like interesting. I might want to look at it. Right. So we're going to hit it from a different angle and then do the open house, see if you have people come in, and then see what the feedback is. And then try your really hardest to get people to write a freaking offer. Like to just to get somebody like, oh,
put something in.
Well, what do you like and what do you not like? Is it something you can fix? If they're like, I really wanted a pot filler in the kitchen. Great, done. I'll give you a pot filler. What do you want? There's very simple things that will trip people up from buying properties sometimes, especially new construction. So if they literally are like, no, I really hate the color of the tile on the backsplash, then great, we'll replace the tile. Like if the property needs to go and we're in a tough market, maybe we'll replace the tile. I don't know what that looks like for you, but I'm just saying, like, we need to have a broad perspective to get the job done. And until you can prove, or until you just give the developer enough data that he can read that data, or you explain it to him and he can read it, for him to like make a decision that maybe I do need to lower the price, or you know what, it's time, I want my capital back. Or no, I can sit on it forever and wait for the prices to go back up because I'm flush with cash. So it doesn't matter. So great, write a 2-year contract. Okay, so if it's not the case, then at some point he's going to need to push it, right?
Right.
But I had 3 properties that my developer had listed with a different agent when he hired me. And of course, I'm like, give me the scraps, go ahead, give me all the hard stuff. 3 that they couldn't sell. So I had to take him in every single week, reports, and a synopsis of this is what's going on in the market. This is the trend that we're seeing. Like we're either having to buy down the rate or they're offering properties for less, you know, sellers are taking less. Like this is what it looks like. This is the landscape. Again, this is the flight to Hawaii. Like you, for a developer, have got to give them, this is what it's looking like on our way to Hawaii. And is Hawaii going to be burned down when we get there? Or is Hawaii going to be flush and green? Like where are we going in Hawaii? And if the prices, the other job that we have is if the prices are trending a certain way, whether up or down, we need to be able to communicate that to them, which says if we wait another, let's say 3 months, if prices are trending down, if we want to stick at our price and everybody else is dropping, because I also will look at drops. Are there any price drops? Are there price increases? What's going on? At the time when prices were dropping, at least in our area, if you waited, like I'm just going to hold out, like everybody else around me can do whatever, I'm going to hold out. Yeah. Well, by the time they drop $50,000, you could have dropped 20 and sold 3 months ago. But now you waited for 3 months and now you're going to be $50,000 less. And again, this is when we're educating. We're not coercing. We're not telling them. We're just saying, here's the data, make up your mind, whatever you want to do,
Right.
I will do it. Right. But this is what the data shows me. I am very data driven because
Okay.
it tells the truth. The same thing
Right.
happened when builders were going, I'm like on a rant today, but the same thing happened when builders were not raising their prices fast enough. So I was like, oh, I knew which builders, I will tell you right now, to take my clients to, because they put us in contract. 6 months later, when we closed, my clients had an extra 50 grand in equity because the prices were raising and they had no clauses in their contract saying that they were going to be increasing the price if materials costs went up.
Right.
They didn't. So some of the builders took it in the tailpipe, man. It was not a good thing because they didn't have representation that was educated and telling them, hey, this is what's going on and you need to make some changes. So yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're stuck, right? Just go to the data and let him make a decision.
Got it.
Yeah. Especially when you're like emotionally invested because your husband's the builder and then you got the developer. I just give my developers the straight shot. I'm like, here, this is what it is. Like me or not, here's what you get.
Thank you.
You're welcome, but I am not married to any of them, so that helps too. Okay, where do I find expired listings and absentee owner properties? Expired listings are going to show up on your MLS. You don't need to pay for anything. Can't you search by expired? You can search by sold. You can sure as heck search by expired. So some people pay for lists. I don't pay for lists. I just go find them. Right? Now, will you have to find phone numbers for them? Sure. Or you can knock on a door too. Depends on what your area is like, if it's safe, or you can send a letter to introduce yourself. You can do lots of different things. But if you don't have money, don't pay for you don't need to pay for that list. You get the list anyway. You may need to pay for a program to get phone numbers. That's all I would say if you want to make the phone calls. Absentee owner properties, I don't know. I can't answer that one for you. I don't find those. I see if a house goes. I pay very close attention when I'm driving around. If they're having estate sales, if they have like something going on, then I pay attention to those properties. Alejandro, do you have a place where you find absentee owner property names?
On Remind.
Remind?
Yeah.
There you go. Remind. All right. She says, thank you very much. I'm like looking around my water to see what it says. Awesome. Remind for absentee owner properties. Yeah, that's awesome too. Okay. And just remember, Justine, if you're going to be pitching to absentee owner properties, what are you pitching? So know your offer if you're going to go pitch to them. What are we offering? What can you do for them? What do they need? How do you start to create a relationship with them? Don't just say, I'm a realtor and I'm your neighborhood realtor. So in case you want to sell your house, I'm here. Well, right. That's what they all do. Well, if you want to go to Hawaii with me, I coach my clients every single Wednesday. I customize for all of my agents that I have come into my academy. I customize a path for them. It doesn't happen in any other program, but everyone that comes in, we're different states in our business, right? And somebody can come to me and they're brand new, so they need different training than somebody that comes to me and they've been in for 10 years. So I have so many different resources and trainings, but they're not all going to be applicable to you. So when agents come into my program, I do a one-on-one session with them to dive into their business to figure out, number one, how do we get some fast wins, what we might need to change, level up, and then, or capitalize on, and then give you a guided path into the program so that you're going to really watch the trainings that you need that will help you in your own business. So if we struggle with conversion, if we struggle with our follow-up, if we struggle with knowing what to say to sellers, I mean, whatever, our processes, systems, there's so many different like things, right? But I've got over 300 trainings. They're not all going to be applicable. So it doesn't you don't end up in the land of overwhelm. And then I coach my agents every single Wednesday. So we have conversations, similar to this, depends on what's going on in the market. Those trainings I always will do because things change and we have to figure out when they change. We're ahead of the game. So we know how to like jump on it before. I love this example. Last year when the rates were starting to go up, right? May, we first started to see the rates go up just a little bit. And we did a training right at that point. I think it was actually in April. about how we approach our for sale by owners and our expireds, what the conversation was going to be like, what we were going to do. And then 2 months later, Inman came out with an article that says, oh, everyone should call for sale by owners and expireds right now because they're all struggling. And I'm like, yeah, we've been doing that for 2 months. Right. So it's being able to have that foresight to jump ahead of the line and be able to attack it before everybody else starts to attack it. Because I'm in the game, guys. Like I'm listing properties. I'm still selling 80, 100. I don't even know what my number is right now every year. So I feel the pain. I see what's going on. Therefore, we can pivot faster than most because I'm not a coach just sitting behind a desk. It's a little bit different of an experience. So the conversations we have tend to be different than a regular coach that you just hire that's just going to talk you through your mindset. We do mindset too. But that's the kind of stuff that I do inside my academy. If you want to know more about it, if you go to agentleader.com, go watch my How to Make Six Figures in Real Estate webinar, 22 minutes of your life, and gives you $1,000 off. So if you want in right now, it's lifetime membership. So you literally, our Hawaii looks like you come into the program. Once you paid for the program, you're in for lifetime. So you always can have a coach. You bounce in and out if you need me. You get 20-minute sessions here and there if you need them. So if you have something that you're struggling with, like I'm here. That's what I do as a coach, is help support the agents. So that's where we're at. So inside the academy, that's what we do. In the spare time is so awesome. So if you want to join us in Hawaii, that's how you get there. That's what it looks like. And I hope you guys have an amazing week. Repeat the video I suggested. Oh, it is the how to build a multi-six-figure real estate career. But it does go through, it is, yeah, I mean, I can teach you. I can make $1 million a year selling real estate. It's fun. Money's great. So you don't have to sit home and suffer in silence. You can learn. It's awesome. Coaching's amazing. You're welcome for this session. And I will hopefully see you guys inside the academy. You guys have a good week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your participation today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye.